So let's get right into this thing with our first question. Even the most optimistic Blazers fans probably didn't see this coming, like we mentioned. A 48-point win, season opener for Portland. There's a lot to like in the 124-76 victory in Phoenix. Which Blazers player surprised you the most in his performance Wednesday night? Jared, we'll start with you.
All right. I know that kind of the first name that came to my mind was obviously Pat Connaughton. He was outstanding off the bench, 24 points. Really kind of answered the question about, who's going to replace Alan Crabb. But that was such an obvious answer. I tried to think of someone else. And Damian Lillard was actually a big surprise to me. I mean, obviously, we all know what he does on offense, and he was great on offense. I think that it was interesting to watch. Evan Turner brought the ball up and ran the offense a lot last night, and that freed up Damian Lillard to play off the ball, and I think that you saw the result. He had a very efficient 27 points in 30 minutes. He played a great offensive game, but and it was on a night he put up all those points when he wasn't getting to the free throw line. There were a lot of times when he took it, right to the rim and got hit and just wasn't getting the calls. So he was able to do that even when he wasn't, getting the calls from the officials. But what surprised me about his performance was his defense. He had 3 blocks, he had a steal, he helped shut down Eric Bledsoe, which, when we talked about that before, Bledsoe has given him trouble in the past, and he was, going around screens and getting through screens and playing over screens to stay with his guy. It was an effort that you haven't always seen from Damian on the defensive end, and it was really special. And I looked at the advanced stats from last night's game, and Damian Lillard had the 3rd highest defensive rating on the team for the game, behind just Evan Turner and Jusuf Nurkic, who are 2 of their best defenders. And so for Damian to be right up there with them and defending at the same level that everybody else was on a really good defensive night for the Blazers, that surprised me, and it was a great thing to see if you're a Blazers fan.
As I'm putting together my sportscast last night, I looked at the box score probably 2 or 3 times and did a double take when I saw Damian Lillard 3 blocks. Right. I thought that had to be wrong.
No.
That was the one thing that stood out to me. For someone that will look at the box score and actually try and tell a story within those numbers, I was like, what? Yeah. 3 blocks?
And he also had 5 rebounds too.
Yeah.
He was getting into the paint. He was extremely aggressive last night. In the 27 points he finished with, it was a very quiet.
Oh, it was low key.
It was too. Yeah. He was just getting points here and there. It helped that other guys were contributing. Obviously, Pat Connaughton was taking the spotlight. But as Jared said, he just kind of did his thing last night. And on defense, it was a much improved effort than what we're used to seeing. As far as my surprise player pick, I went with the obvious. Pat Connaughton. Obviously, he had 24 points, 4 or 7 from 3. And one thing he brought the Blazers is he brought them some energy in that first quarter. They won by 48, but a lot of people, I don't know if they forget or they just haven't thought about, I mean, they were down 9-2 to start off that game. The offense was stagnant. They looked really tentative, and then Pat Connaughton came in and started firing threes, taking his shots, and they were going in, and that kind of fired up the rest of the offense and really got it going. He scored 10 of their first 15 points in the game. And from there is when you saw the Blazers kind of take off offensively, and then the defense kind of followed along with that.
That's true. It's not like this happened in garbage time for
Right.
Pat Connaughton. It's not like you look at the stats and you say, oh, yeah, he had a great game, but he had an impact on this game. I mean, maybe this game is much closer. Heck, maybe they even lose if they don't get a boost. Maybe this game is close. Things tighten up, you never know.
And he would have never gotten into the game that early if
True.
Harkless hadn't picked up those 2 quick fouls.
Yeah, things have to fall into place for him.
It might not have even been a situation, mentally as a professional athlete, you always tell yourself to be ready. But, it's still a surprise when 2 or 3 minutes in the game. I'm sure it was a surprise to Pat Connaughton. 2 or 3 minutes in the game when his number was called and he had to go out there on the floor.
First guy off the bench.
Yeah.
And he came in and he absolutely brought it for them last night.
That's the thing that I took away as well. I went with the obvious on this as well. I agree with you. I just think Pat Connaughton was the story. I think it's so cool because not too long ago we were talking about a dude who maybe shouldn't be on this roster. That had something to prove at Summer League. Hey, did he deserve to get that paycheck to be around again? What's up? What's going to happen with him? So to see the guy that's on the end of the bench where the only time he makes the highlights is because he's waving the towel or he's fired up for his teammates, to see the roles reverse and him out there getting buckets like that, I thought that was really cool to see. So a guy that a lot mentioned, hey, maybe he should be playing with the Baltimore Orioles and not with the Portland Trailblazers. This was a really cool story. I hope that there's more to come with this guy and that you're seeing a dude that can fill in for that void that was left behind with Alan Crabb, because you saw someone step up with C.J. McCollum not there.
Yeah.
And Damian Lillard even joking on the Oregonian, I believe, was reporting on that he was calling him what, Pat McCollum?
Pat McCollum.
Pat McCollum.
Yeah.
So there's a new player on the roster there.
And I mean, Jared brought this up with Pat in previous podcasts we've done with this, is that he's actually been a very good three-point shooter for the Blazers. He just doesn't get a ton. He hasn't had a ton of attempts over the last 2 years. And so I guess I'm kind of interested in Jared's thoughts on this. You know, what do you kind of see Connaughton's role moving forward with this team being?
That's a good question. It's funny. I was just about to ask you guys the same question. Well, the thing about Connaughton is that he earned Coach Stott's trust last season. And he didn't play a lot, but when players went down and they needed someone to fill in, he was often one of the first players that Stotts turned to. And so that's a really big deal, because you've seen it, the opposite direction with someone like Myers Leonard, who has lost the trust of Coach Stotts. And so it's affected his play, and he doesn't, get the opportunity. I think Pat Connaughton this season will get the opportunity. There are minutes there. You need another backup guard. You're going to have Evan Turner play a lot of backup minutes at the guard, but it's either going to be Connaughton or Shabazz Napier who's going to play a lot of those minutes. And I think that Connaughton's showing that it's not just his three-point shooting. He's also making really heady decisions out there. He knows what everyone on the court is supposed to do. He's a good communicator. He plays solid defense. So I think that, I don't think he's going to go out there and score 24 points or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think that he can be a real contributor off the bench and be someone that the Blazers rely on.
To your credit, before this game was played, we had a discussion about who should take C.J. McCollum's place. And Jared said, we should be talking about Pat Connaughton. Yeah. And I thought, no way, man. This is Evan Turner. They're going to deal with it this way. And although, Connaughton didn't get the start, he had the biggest impact on this game. And I think more than anything, you see that Pat Connaughton deserves to be on the floor.
Yeah.
And I mean, to go to Jared's point about trust, Terry Stotts showed that last night in Pat Connaughton being the guy he went to when Mo Harkless went out. He decided at that point to play small and to have Evan Turner
early.
Play the three. Yeah, and that was early in the game. And the guy he turned to was Pat Connaughton. He could have turned to Ed Davis or Caleb Swan again and just had, Al-Farouq Aminu kind of shift down and play the three. But instead, he went the other way and had Connaughton come in and play the two and shifted Evan Turner up to the three.
That's such an interesting point. I didn't think about that, how they could have shifted Aminu over. Because I was thinking last night when Connaughton came in, I was like, oh, that's interesting, but they don't really have any other, threes to bring in. And so that's why they're bringing him in. But they could have absolutely just put Aminu at the three and brought in one of the fours. So that's a good point.